My history with the 007 franchise is brief. I've read a book or two, only seen the Daniel Craig films, and only really liked the one. So my excitement for IO Interactive's James Bond game came mostly from the glowing previews from game journalists, and that the Lana Del Rey song First Light created for the game is just astounding. Now, after having finished the main campaign in about 16 hours, I'd say this new take on James Bond is worthy of the number. 007 First Light is exactly how everyone describes it. IO's Hitman meets Naughty Dog's Uncharted. I adore the Uncharted series, but I don't have any experience with IO's previous work on the Hitman franchise. This combination for First Light mostly boils down to the moment-to-moment gameplay of Hitman, stealthily taking out enemies and controlling scenarios with objects in your environment. Then the storytelling, cinematics, and set pieces feel similar to those seen in Uncharted. Storytelling feels like the best place to start because that's where First Light shines the strongest. We see a new version of the iconic spy franchise and a newly recruited James Bond as he starts his 00 training at MI6. The first few chapters of the game focus on learning how to be a 00 agent, with some hints of a larger unfolding narrative. This later escalates to the classic globe-trotting, undercover espionage, double crosses, and high-stake chases common in the 007 franchise. It's fun seeing what aspects of the character haven't been introduced yet, and it never feels too forced because it's not common to see a James Bond origin story. The story itself took a little while to hook me, but once you start to uncover the central mystery and mission around halfway through the game, it kept me anxious to get back to more. But this Bond is also bolstered by a really strong supporting cast of characters. Similar to Uncharted games, your character is often joined by another member of MI6 on his missions, either in person or through remote call-in, whether it's John Greenway, a former disgruntled 00 agent, or Moneypenny, who riffs really well in calls with Bond. Other supporting characters, like the other 00 agents in training, or the mysterious Isola, really add to it feeling like a lived-in world, rather than a generic action video game with some paper-thin NPCs. While I enjoyed the story and narrative, these cinematic moments are also where a lot of First Light's problems reside as well. The story does have some really bizarre editing and pacing. It's hard to explain without spoiling too much, but I'll say this. There are some major character moments that don't feel addressed properly, or story reveals that aren't fully earned. It can kill some of the fun twists of the game when the game expects me to feel one way when I still don't fully know what happened. This happens numerous times as well. Some story moments aren't given the certain weight and gravitas that they deserve. The dialogue as well has very odd pacing. It feels like every line of dialogue plays right after the other. There are no natural pauses in conversations. Characters respond immediately to each other, and it's very bizarre once I noticed it.
I couldn't help but overhear you and Greenway.
Couldn't help yourself is what you mean.
Sounds like there's some history between the two of them.
They served together as double O's, right up until Operation Nightfall.
Go on.
Would that I could.
I also don't think the Uncharted-style set pieces work. I categorize these as moments of the game's high adrenaline chases, or big environmental showcases of action. In this game, they were often too short and felt more clunky than thrilling. This is likely a budget issue, as this is IO's first time making a game of this scale. But I thought these moments felt sort of useless in hindsight, and paled in comparison to the other big showcases of the game, the interactive levels. These are the real stars of First Light. They are these massive locales, each with distinct environments and scenarios. They're like their own mini set pieces, and feel exactly like the James Bond films. One level sees you sneaking around a mansion in Slovakia, changing disguises and blending in with employees, while another has you pretending to be a tourist in a beautiful spa resort in Vietnam. These are the highlights of the game. They are sandboxes where the player can approach situations in any way they want. If you want to stealth around guards and very meticulously survey your options, you can. Or you can start throwing objects off desktops and slamming people into bookshelves to clear a room. You can also mix and match these playstyles whenever you want as well. The game doesn't punish you to solve things your own way.
He's not as sharp as...
This might sound like a negative, but these NPCs are stupid, but in a way that makes the game much better. They will struggle to hear combat in nearby rooms, or approach distractions on their lonesome, while ignoring the pile of bodies in front of them. Even security guards will allow you to re-enter areas they kicked you out of, if you later find the right membership card. It's somewhat silly, but it allows you to once again figure things out yourself, and never punish you when you fail at your own ideas. You can also change out gadgets as well, which also leads to missions feeling fresh. You can take a dart phone that makes enemies sick, or a laser strap that burns locks off doors. You have the ability to decide how you want to play, and how much combat to engage in. Combat itself is also very fun. Hand-to-hand combat is very engaging, and falls into the thinking on your feet nature of James Bond. Punching, parrying, and dodging have a really nice weight to them, and even if it's a little strange that every enemy fights just as well as you, it's never a bore when you enter hand-to-hand combat. You can also die in like 3 consecutive hits from both punches or bullets. You almost always have to improvise and work with your environment. You can throw enemies to the side, throw your unloaded weapons at them as well, or shoot interactive objects in the room.
You don't say.
All these options for player freedom make the idea of replaying missions very appealing. Combat also leads to some really funny moments with guards, whether that's charging them into exploding fire hydrants, or tossing coffee mugs at armed guards while Bond shoots out a one-liner. Certain sections allow for Bond to use guns with his license to kill, and these can be hit or miss. The first few sections were more frustrating than fun, as I try to get a handle on when to peek from cover and dodge to new cover when needed. Some sections are also just overflowing with enemies to shoot, and it can start to wear thin, finishing a section and feeling like you killed almost 100 enemies. Not all these sections are bad. Later shooting sections felt better designed, and played with unique level concepts as well, like silenced weapons or rooms laced with destructible platforms. This is also a prevalent feeling I had with most aspects of the game. It just gets better the longer it goes. The narrative picks up in the second half, as the training section is fun, but not very story rich. The combat gets more involved and varied, along with the ways the player can approach the game as they unlock new Q gadgets. I was much lower on the game during the first few chapters, but I would say chapter 6 onward, which is about the game's halfway point, the game really hits its stride. Visually, the game is very impressive on PlayStation 5, but that does come with a few caveats. Load times are a huge issue, often taking around 10 to 15 seconds after each death. Normally this wouldn't be that much of an issue, but with how easy Bond is to kill, it happens pretty often. Then, restarting a checkpoint also reloads the game into a slow loading screen. This discouraged me wanting to restart a checkpoint to take a different approach to the situation. Then sometimes, restarting a checkpoint would send me much further back than I would like. Again, to compare this to the Uncharted games, they load much faster and feel much more accommodating to wanting to retry sections. Faster load times or more frequent checkpoints would alleviate a lot of my frustrations with the game. Problems aside, after finishing the game, I do have a lot of excitement for where IO could take a sequel for the game. I now have an attachment to the cast of this 007 world, and the core gameplay loop feels endlessly replayable. With some further polish, I think this could become on par with the best franchise collaborations in video game history. All in all, I think 007 First Light is worth playing.